Hello, this is Dean Radin, and I'm on Your Superior Self.
Hi, I'm Anita Murjani, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hello, this is Dr. Raymond Moody, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, Cultural Creatives. I'm Bruce Lipton, and I'm here to join you with Your Superior Self.
This is Paul Selig, and this is Your Superior Self.
What's up, everybody? I'm Aubrey Marcus, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, everybody. My name's Char Margolis, and I am an intuitive psychic medium, and I am here to talk to Trey about your superior self, and I'm excited to do that.
You are psychic, and I don't mean just you. I mean, that's the title of your book. Char, thank you for taking the time. I truly enjoyed this book. I think everyone, it's a must read, number one, and two, I love how your stories intertwine in this, because I think it's an important part of our realization of how we all can be psychic and in touch more with the one consciousness. So thank you for taking the time.
It's my honor and my pleasure, and it makes me so happy that you read the entire book. And this is the first book I've written without a ghostwriter, where I wrote it by myself.
Oh, how'd that feel?
Well, it was grueling at times, but it's satisfying. It was really satisfying. And I think also psychologically, it was good to write it for myself. And excuse me, I'm very fortunate at St. Martin's Press, who are my publishers, that Joe Fatinos and Gwen Hawkes, really, they're my editors, and they really, really helped organize it and put it together and help me with it.
Well, you look great, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like you got a lot of energy around you right now.
I do. You want to see?
Sure. Oh, there he is.
That's my psychic sidekick. That's Sunny Margolis, my little chihuahua.
How'd you come up with the name Sunny?
Well, my friend John, do you know who John Edward is, the psychic? So he's a good friend of mine, and he said, you should name something with good energy. And I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. So I got the name. I was in the shower, and I thought the name Sunshine. And my sisters came over that day when I got him, and my older sister said, why don't you she said, I was thinking about Sunshine. I said, so was I. I said, so we went, okay, his name is Sunny. So then I called John and I said, guess what? He says, what? I said, we've got the name. He goes, what? And I said, it's Sunny. And he starts laughing. I said, what's so funny? He goes, Sunny and Char.
Classic. That's awesome. I love that. Your website. I love that too.
Oh,
I did notice on there that it has a butterfly on it.
And we just did it.
Yeah, you just did it. Well, in your introduction in the You Are Psychic book, you talk about the special meaning behind the butterfly, right? For you and your sister, right? Can you talk about that meeting? Yeah,
of course. So our mom, I have two older sisters who are lovely. They're my best friends. And in 1999, Mom crossed over, and I don't believe we die. I just believe we cross over to another dimension, and that we see each other again when we get to the other side, and that we can communicate with our loved ones over there. And my sister was in the garden, and she's, both of my sisters are intuitive. And she said, I was asking Mom for a sign, and she said, this butterfly kept flying around. And then it landed on me, and she said, Mom, that must be you. You're a butterfly. So about 6 months later, I was at Fryman Canyon in Los Angeles hiking by myself. And I did not have a cell phone then. They were just starting. And I was going up the mountain. I said, Mom, if you're here, show me a sign. And I'm walking up the mountain, and I turned the corner, and there were literally hundreds and hundreds of butterflies. And it was like amazing. I didn't have a phone to take a picture. I didn't have a camera. And it was just for me. And I thought, God, am I seeing things? And there was one other girl on the mountain, and I said, do you see these butterflies? And she goes, yeah. And I'm putting my hands out, and I'm going, oh my God. And I'm feeling them, their wings fluttering on my hand. And I go, oh my God, that's a bug. And then I would put my hands down, then I'd put them back up and I'd feel the butterfly. And it was like an amazing experience because we get signs from our loved ones in the spirit world all the time when we listen and when we learn to communicate.
Mhm. Do a lot of our loved ones come back as animals like that, like butterflies and ladybugs? Or...
Yeah, I believe exactly. I believe that many spirits take on nature as their sign. A butterfly, a dragonfly. There are some spirits who drop pennies. Who I have a friend whose father drops her dimes all the time. She doesn't find nickels. She doesn't find quarters. She finds dimes. And some people have a flower. Some people see a deer. It just depends. Some people think it's a fly. It just depends. Or dolphin. And I do believe that nature has a lot to do with our grounding and connection to the spirit world as well.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. I see a lot of signs, right? Like there's a part in your book where you talk about license plates. You did a lot of driving, right? And you see a lot of license plates. I see, I actually wrote that down in the part of the book to save time because you actually have like tools in here that people can use to write psychic practices or strengthening of that psychic muscle for them.
Right.
But I wrote in mine, I see numbers on license plates just like you. I see billboards with numbers. Mine's usually like, I hate to say this, it's usually 999, or I cringe sometimes. It's like, but I also see 666 a lot, right? But there's that stigma that that's a bad number, right?
Well, it depends. If you think it's bad, it's bad. If you don't think it's bad, it's not bad. You know, what I've been seeing a lot, like right before the pandemic, I kept seeing 9/11. And I kept telling people something weird's going to happen to the world, but I don't know what it is, but I keep seeing 9/11. Unfortunately, I'm seeing it again.
Really?
Wow. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's all bad, but if you're seeing numbers, so you have already started developing your language with your spirit guides and in the spirits around you. And I had primetime TV shows in the Netherlands. I don't speak Dutch. Don't ask me why. They kept asking me back and I couldn't understand why, but I can read and I can tell people, I hear phonetically, so I can get names and things. And I would always think, oh, they're never going to want me back next year. And they had me back there for like something like 10 seasons. Wow. So, but every year when I would ask, am I coming back? I'd see the same 3 initials on a license plate. And now whenever I see those, I know that something good's going to come up, something positive.
How how long did it take you to realize that though? Right. Because I feel like I'm asking a million questions, but I need to focus on a couple.
I love that you ask questions. I love how inquisitive you are. I love your energy. I love how you want to develop your own intuition and keep you're doing research about life and about energy. And I can tell, and it's exciting to talk to you because you're anxious about it. You're ambitious about it. It's great.
Because I know it's there, like there's this conceptual idea or conceptual understanding of something, and then there's that experiential understanding.
Right.
I've had small experiential instances in my life with consciousness when I'm definitely trying, right? Like when I do like little experiments with consciousness or God or the universe, like things are happening that like the numbers start popping up, right? Like, so it's just kind of like honing in on my skills and just really like practicing, strengthening those intuitive muscles. And what I love about your book is that it gives me more tools, right? And more stories and more inspiration to keep going down and really discovering that for myself.
Well, my goal has always been to help people help themselves. And the future can change at any moment, at any second, because of someone else's choice or decision. So you want to depend on your own intuition and your own psychic ability. You don't want to, I mean, it's nice to get readings from other people, and I do private sessions as well, but I'm not always there with people. So, and I don't walk on water. I don't know everything, but, but because, you know, you might be driving your car and you're going to go to the store and you decide something tells you to go left instead of right. And you're thinking, why should I go left? It's out of the way. And then you go right. And then instead, because you don't listen, and you end up that, you know, there's a car accident and everything's piled up and you can't turn around.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we're all intuitive, and I call it the 4 C's. You have to have the courage, the confidence, the commitment to conquer this, and conquering it is acting upon it. You can be in your busiest part of your day and something says to you, call your mother, call your best friend, call your child, call your sibling. And you're really busy, but you go, you know what? I'm going to take the time out. I'm going to call. And they go, oh my God, I needed you. Can you come over right now? I need to, you know, 911 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, it's that part of acting upon it. You know, whenever, and many times I've asked audiences, remember that time you wanted something? Maybe it was a business deal. Maybe it was a romance. Maybe it was a friendship. Maybe it was an investment. And you go to do it and something says, don't do it. It doesn't feel right. But then you start talking to the person, you have things in common. Maybe there's a sexual attraction if it's a romance. And then you forget that first gut feeling and you encounter them and you get to know them, and time proves that you suffer the consequences. So, so that's why a lot of people learn their and I say to the audience, how many people have had this where they didn't listen? They raise their hand, and I go, how many people did listen and they prevented a problem? And then, you know, some people raise their hand too, but that's, I think, our first psychic experience. And I call that psychic at random.
Psychic at random.
And then there's psychic on demand, which is what I do with my clients. I totally tune in, feel their energy, and read for them.
Mm-hmm. When did these abilities, like, when did you realize them, right? There's a cool well, I think it's cool, right? Like, it's cool reading it, but I don't know how cool it was in the moment to actually have some of the experiences, especially at a young age, as a little girl that you did. So when did you start experiencing these?
Well, when I was 8 years old, our house had been broken into. We lived in a nice neighborhood in a suburb of Detroit. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and there was a figure at the foot of my bed. It was a man in rags, and I could see through him. And he had this pouch, and he put his hand in his pouch, and he sprinkled all these gold lights on me. And as they landed on me, they evaporated. Excuse me. And I pulled the covers over my head. I started pinching myself. I had black and blue marks the next morning. I was shaking. And I peeked, and he was still there, and the lights were coming down on me. And the closet in my bedroom had a little crawl space attic. And I thought, oh, the people who broke in our house were living in the crawl space attic. I didn't know what to think. And the next day I went, and my mom was in the kitchen making breakfast. And I said, Mommy, the burglars were here again last night. And she said, oh no, honey, that was the Sandman. She didn't even skip a beat. And I said, the Sandman? Is there a Sandman? And there was an old time song called Mr. Sandman. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, well, if there's a song by that name, I guess there maybe really are Sandman. There is a Sandman. So my parents were supportive. They never said, stop making up stories. My dad took me grocery shopping, and my mom would always look at the bill when we would get home. And I said, Mommy, that lady cheated us. And my mom looked at the bill, and they overcharged us. And then 2 weeks later, my mom took me to lunch, and the woman brought the bill. And I said, Mommy, that lady cheated us. And so my mom looked at the bill, and the woman overcharged us 10 cents. 10 cents at that time was more than 10, what we think 10 cents is now. But you know, my parents never said, stop making up stories, stop trying to get attention. They literally were supportive and understood it, because my dad was very intuitive.
Mm-hmm. So how long after the Sandman did you start seeing like past loved ones or people that
Okay,
might
well,
have?
what happened was I I was frightened and I was afraid to be alone at night. And my sisters or my mom had to stand in the doorway of my bedroom till I fell asleep at night, or my dad, because I was afraid I was going to see things. It was fear-based for me. I didn't understand it. And I went to, my sisters both were married at a young age, and they were out of the house by the time I was 11, because they're 9 and 13 years older than I am. And I went to summer camp so I wouldn't be alone. I ended up getting married when I was about 20. I ran the camp when I was 18. I was the head counselor. And when I was like 21, I got married, and I didn't understand this stuff, but I was involved with a group of people in a community theater, as I was also going to college at the same time. And there was a woman there who said, "I'm going to a seance. Do you want to come?" And I said, "What's that?" And she said, "Well, we talked to a dead Indian." And I said, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I thought, oh my God, I got to go do this. So, my goal is always to conquer my fears. So here I am, scared to death of the dark. And I go to the inner city of Detroit, which isn't safe anyway. The neighborhood wasn't. And, but I always love an adventure. I still do. And this woman opens the door, cute blonde woman. And she takes me down. We all go down her basement. There were like 4 of us. The windows were covered up with oh God, I don't know. They were covered up so you couldn't see anything, and so no light would come in. And we sat around this little table, and I don't want to tell you the rest of the story. I want you to read it. I want people to read it. I want you to read this book, You Are Psychic, because it tells you the whole story of what happened. But I definitely had experiences with spirits.
Do people need to go to seances now to experience that? Like, or is there somewhere else they should start?
I don't recommend seances.
Yeah. Because
we live in a physical world and we live in an energetic world, and there's good and evil in both. And a lot of dark energies try to get into seances, and trickster energies. Mm-hmm. So you have to be very careful. If someone's leading it, you better really know who they are and what's going on.
Sure.
And so it's like Ouija boards.
Mm-hmm.
Ouija boards are not safe.
Well, I was watching one of your episodes on Char Vision, right, with John Edward, and he was talking about how he hasn't, I don't know, openly admitted about dark energies or trickster energies, right, until hanging out with you, and then kind of having that realization for himself that they are out there. And then, like, you have a nice little part in the book where it talks about protection, and you actually give an example of protection for people to use to kind of ground them in their experience and let them be a part of the light, which I love. Right. I think it is. I think John calls it psychic protection or something like that. Yeah. How important is that for people to do before meditation?
The most important thing is to say a prayer of protection. Every single person I've read for in all these decades of doing this work, I've always said a prayer of protection with every single one of my clients, to make sure only positive, good energy is around us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really important.
Yeah.
John calls it psychic self-defense.
That's right. That's what he calls it. Psychic self-defense. Yeah, because I feel we are so vulnerable in those states of altered consciousness, right? Altered states of consciousness. And then we're already second guessing ourselves because we're so used to the 5 senses, right? Like, that's how we explore our reality. That's how we decipher information. Mm-hmm. And so when we start receiving messages or hunches or getting intuitive hits, like, it is very important for us to be clear about where they're coming from, or have faith. That's how we build our faith in those messages.
Mm-hmm. It's true. I mean? It's true.
What can you give me an example of, like, what your protection sounds like? Yeah.
So I also have this in my book, You Are Psychic, but I tell people to put a white light of protection around them, and then swirl those lights around, and then keep all the goodness and positivity around you in the white light, and then put yourself inside an egg and close it up. The shell of the egg is a mirror like this, a mirrored egg. And so anything dark or negative coming at you, the bad will go back to where it came from. And then in the book, I say the prayer that I always say, and to when you tune in, and also how to protect yourself.
When did you discover that for yourself? Like, when did you say, I need to start doing this prayer?
Well, I used to say another prayer, but about maybe 25 or 30 years ago, I was woken up in the middle, early on a Sunday morning, and I usually always slept in on Sunday morning. And I was at my apartment in Los Angeles, and I sat down and I wrote a prayer. It just came to me. And then that's the prayer I say before I read. And then the protection prayer I got from one of a combination of a couple healers that I work with who use that prayer. And the mirrored egg actually was taught to me by Patty Negri, who is a psychic, a medium, and actually a good witch. She's
a good witch.
She's a good witch.
What started your momentum in like the TV industry? It's so fascinating. I feel like you've been on every show there is possible.
Well, I've been on a lot, and I've been blessed to be on so many. And actually, I've got a bunch of shows, old shows from Entertainment Tonight and the Maury Povich, and a bunch of shows that we're going to put on digital, and I'm going to put it on some of my social media stuff. This is how I started. I volunteered as the publicity director. Somebody said, "Oh, will you help me with publicity?" I said, "Yeah," I didn't know what I was doing, at the Easter Seal Society in Michigan. And I started to put famous people like the Minnesota Fats, the real pool player, the real Minnesota Fats. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he came in and did a billiard bash for us. And I would put him on the radio, and I did a ski-a-thon, and I learned to ski on outriggers, and I taught amputees to ski. And I put on a big ski-a-thon to raise money for Easter Seals, and I'd put the famous skiers on. And anyway, one day, one of the radio hosts said to me, "Well, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I have a teaching degree, but I'm volunteering doing this, but I'm also a psychic." And he goes, "You are?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Will you come on my radio show?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And I always knew the day I read for a stranger, like one of the first days that I went to those seances, I read for a woman. And I knew so many things about her that I had an epiphany that this was going to be my life's work. And I've dedicated my life to doing this all my life.
Sure.
And so anyway, he put me on the radio, and then I thought, oh, I'm supposed to do this again. And another guy from the radio station said, will you do my show? And I said, sure. So he was coming to my house, and he brought a tape recorder. Well, it worked before he came, and then it worked after he left, but it didn't work while he did my interview here, because I knew intuitively I was supposed to go there to meet someone else, and I did, and I was on again. So it just snowballed, and then I thought, oh, I get it. I'm supposed to be on local shows. So I went on local show in Detroit, and then something told me to call. I thought, if I'm really supposed to share this work to the world, I should go to Los Angeles. So I was on a show called Kelly and Company in Detroit. And then the producer said, I said, is there a morning talk show in Los Angeles? They said, yes, it's called AMLA, and it's with Regis Philbin. And I said, oh, okay. So I called 411 in Los Angeles, which was a lot of money then, we only had landlines. And I said, hi, who's the executive producer of AMLA? And they said, Mr. Ron Ziskin. I said, okay, thank you. And I hang up. And I call back and I go, hi, is Mr. Ronziskin there? And for some reason, and to this day, he doesn't know why he took my call.
Mhm.
And he took my call and I say, I'll read for you. I'll read for anyone. And I read for his executive producer or his associate producer. And she said, can you get out to LA? And I said, yeah, but I'd never been there. I had like $200 saved up or something. And I flew myself out and they put me up at the Beverly Hilton and they sent a car and they did this thing. And everybody said, if Regis likes you, you'll do well in this business, meaning TV business. And if he doesn't, you won't. And Regis took to me and I ended up going there every month. And I had an apartment. I got an apartment that I still have since 1985.
Wow. I feel like he was a nice guy anyway, right? Like
He was lovely.
I don't think there's too many people in that do not like list.
No, Regis was lovely and he adored his work.
Mhm.
He loved doing what he did.
Sure.
He was a wonderful, wonderful man.
I mean, yeah. I mean, your just your story is just amazing, right? Like, because there's a part in it where like you talk about your beginnings of being a psychic and intuitive, right? And your husband at the time was like, I'm not, when you start accepting money for this, file the divorce papers.
And he meant it. And he did.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like you had to like really come to terms with what you wanted to do and pursue in this life. What is your mission? What is your journey? What is your, the meaning behind this gift? And you went after it, even though it cost you a marriage, right? Like it's you know what? I wouldn't trade a second of my life because I've learned really good lessons and I've grown from it. And, there's in everything bad, there's always good that comes out of it. And we learn. Life is a school and we're here to learn. So yeah, the marriage did not work out. But you know what? He married someone else after me. And then he got divorced again. And then he said, can we go out again? And I said, no. I said, no, that is not going to happen. And you know what his claim to fame was when he would pick up girls? What's that?
I was married to Char the psychic.
Yeah, but you had an intuitive hit walking down the aisle, right?
Yeah, boy, you really did read my book. Yeah. It was a gorgeous wedding. My parents went all out. My teachers were there. My friends were there. And I remember, it was a big sanctuary with pillars and the door opens and here comes the bride starts playing. And I see my adoring father standing there waiting for me. He was halfway down the aisle and then I was walking to him. And before I got to him, I'm thinking, oh my God, this marriage isn't going to work. And I'm seeing this man that I adore and love that I want to marry. And I'm seeing my dad and it was a beautiful, wonderful time. And to erase that thought in my head, I started skipping down the aisle. And at that time, no one danced down the aisle or skipped down the aisle or anything. And everyone goes, oh, there goes, my real name's Charlene. Oh, there goes Charlene. Because I was always like the class clown. So it was one of my first premonitions. And what a way to get a premonition.
I mean, what do you do at that point, right? Like you're there, right? I mean, I feel like you did what a lot of people would have done anyway, right? Like, I mean, that's last minute.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to turn around, and you know what? The marriage was okay for the first year or two. It was okay. It was fun.
That's the importance, right? Like, let's talk about intuition, like listening to those gut feelings, right? Mm-hmm. Like, should we heed their warnings?
I think we should heed the warnings, but also I think some things we have to experience, because if I was going to get that gut feeling before the wedding, then maybe I would not have gotten married, or maybe I would have. I don't know. I didn't understand my intuition then. I didn't understand that I had this gift and ability. But I think I was supposed to karmically marry him because we had unfinished business from past lives.
Mm,
And I
past
think
lives.
that's why I think it happened right before I was saying my vows.
Wow.
And so I really think I was supposed to be with him, live some of my life with him, share things with him. And we had some fun things that we did. And so it would, I mean, it turned out bad in the end, but, and he wasn't very nice at the end, but that's okay because I learned some lessons. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade a second of my life for anything or anyone. And, I'm going to be 71 soon, in a couple weeks.
Wow. So how long have you been doing the work? Like
50
40,
years.
50 years?
Mhm.
Wow. Phew. That's why you need to pick this book up, because there's so much experience in this, so much life experience and trials and tribulations, and I just love it. There's actually a part in this book that I really enjoyed. Talks about near-death experiences, and there's a couple of questions in there that I actually stole from you because I wanted to ask you them. What can near-death experiences teach us about our lives?
Well, there are people who are skeptical and think it's ashes to ashes and dust to dust. They don't realize, especially a lot of people who commit suicide, they don't realize that that there's a spirit world that they're going to go to. They're going to judge themselves. And then most of them, they have to come back and do it all over again because they did not fulfill their karma here.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me, we all have, we live many lifetimes till we get it right. And there are people who go to the other side and who are proclaimed dead on the operating table, and they start seeing angels and have visions, and they see loved ones who have passed away, and they see people who they recognize, who they love, and they know they love them, but they don't know who they are, and they're probably their guardian angels. But then they get the person's heart beating again, and their ethereal body, which is their spirit body, goes back into their physical body, and they come back and talk about it. And there's one story that I don't even think I wrote in the book about a woman who floated up during her near-death experience. Her heart stopped. She was on an operating table. She went up to the light fixture and looked at the little numbers on the light fixture and memorized them. And then came back and told, and she said, "Oh yeah, and you were the one who was pumping my heart, and you were the one that was standing over to my right, and you were," and there's no way she could have known all that. So there's hundreds and hundreds of stories of people who have died, literally died, their bodies, their heart stops, and they come back and they talk about their loved ones and what's going on. And a lot of people do not want to come back to the earth. They love it
because it's
so
too tough.
much. Huh?
Because it's too tough.
Yeah, well, there's one lady that I wrote about, and I think her daughter's name was Deanna, and she had a near-death experience, and it was euphoric, and you don't even like see color. You almost become color. So the reds are redder, the blues are bluer, the greens are magnificent, the yellows are vibrant, and you become them. And music, you become music. You don't just hear music, you become vibrational music and beautiful notes. And this woman was having the best time in heaven, and she saw, I don't know if she saw her mother or her guardian angel, and they said, "You have to go back. Your daughter Deanna needs you." And she goes, "No, no, 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 no. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. She'll figure it out. She'll figure it out." And they go, "No, we're sending you back. You'll be back here again one day, but you've got to go back to your daughter. Deanna needs you." And boom, she's back in her body. And boom, she sees her. She wouldn't talk to her daughter for 6 weeks.
Wow.
She was so pissed off. She was so mad at her.
Does everyone have angel guides?
Yeah, everybody has guardian angels and spirit guides.
Sure. So have you ever asked the question about like the hierarchy? Is there a hierarchy like of archangels, angel guides, spirit guides?
I do believe that. I know a lot of people feel that that the archangels are their Archangel Michael and are their guides, and I think they are. They probably are. And some people see Christ, and some people see the Virgin Mary, and everybody has a different connection with who they feel and what they feel is protecting them. I know that I have a spirit guide that I got right away, and I knew he was a Native American, and I knew his name was White Feather. And literally, I was once going, when Regis went to New York and I went to New York to be on the show, we were literally walking in a snowstorm, and a white feather flew in front of us, and he saw it, and he believed in what and we'd be on the set on television, and a white feather would float around while we're being interviewed.
That's awesome.
It's
That's
crazy.
awesome.
And the truth is, some people see white feathers as their symbol.
Hmm. How do we communicate with them, right? Like, I do believe we have angels. I do believe we have spirit guides. How do you teach people to communicate with them?
Well, start talking to them and ask them questions and say, well, what does this mean? And can you give me a sign? And it's like your license plate and your number thing that you get. You're starting a language with the spirit guides around you. And as you get older and the more you use it, it's like a muscle, the stronger it gets, the more proof you'll have and the more signs you'll get. And it's like I've asked for signs where I look outside and there's a beautiful rainbow, and it just brightens my day and says, don't worry, everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe it and I know it. I don't doubt it. I've never doubted that there's a spirit world, not 1 second in my whole life.
Yeah. Well, do your communications, right? Like, do you see your spirit guides, or is it just kind of like a voice or thought?
I know what my guides look like, and I feel when their energy is with me. But we have an inner band of 7 and an outer band of 7 guides. So we have a lot of guides. And then sometimes we're lone guides. Like, I feel like when I wrote my book, they loaned some writing guide to me. I don't know who, but at one point, I'm not saying it was him, but at one point, my ex-husband and I had a home in northern Michigan on Hemingway Point. But I don't think it was Hemingway because I don't like to drink. So I don't know who it is, but I know that there was a spirit guide that was kind of guided to me because it kind of flowed, the thoughts just floated through me.
What do your readings look like? Like, what makes you different than some most intuitives?
Well,
mediums?
Usually I'm able to get an initial or name. I usually get the name of people around people and situations around them that I couldn't know about, and to give validation, to give verification. I'm kind of like the conduit between them and their guides, and also their loved ones. And like today, like every reading's different. Like today, there was a woman who she has a life partner, and they've been together 14 years, and it's not doing that well. They're not doing that well, and they need to work on it. And we need to go to therapy. We need to communicate. We need to work on ourselves. It's hard enough being with someone else as being alone. We have to learn to work on who we are as human beings with compassion. And then sometimes I'll pick up on someone and all they want me to do is connect with their husband who passed away. We'll have a whole conversation about, the beautiful messages that he's bringing her, but specific things, like he says you wear the plaid shirt that he wore all the time to bed. And, or things like that, like specifics that are real. And the more open the people are, the more the messages flow
Hmm.
and come through.
What what do you feel like when you're having these communications, when you're receiving these messages, and um, especially when you have like a pretty significant like message come through that validates for the other person about, life on the other side?
What do I do?
Like, how do you feel? Like, what does that make you feel like when you
I
help them?
I can't even explain how uh, peaceful it makes me feel and how happy it makes me feel that I'm helping other people, because I truly enjoy healing and helping others. But when I give the message, I kind of like I'm not all there. So I try not to think about what I just said. I just try to get to the next message and the next message and the next message. And then when it's all over, I go and they say, wow, that was great, or thank you so much, or whatever, you made my day. You brought peace to me. And then I feel happy,
Mhm.
because you never let your ego get in the way. There's these, mediums who think that, oh, well, I'm the greatest. And no, that's bullshit. Ego means edging God out. EGO, edging God out. That's ego. And as soon as an ego will get in the way, it'll screw you up royally. I learned that at a young age.
Do you have a good handle on that? Like, I mean, especially with some of your fame and some of your, I mean, you're the one that had that special moment with Kelly Ripa, right, on her television show, her national television show,
Right.
right?
She always says she thinks it's because of me that she got the job.
But I mean, that's significant, right? Like that's a huge moment for you in your career. How do you not let your ego get in the way?
Because ego means edging God out.
Mm,
because because my mission in life is to get the work out and to help people understand about their own intuition, and to read for people and help them prevent problems and attain goals in their lives, because it's not about me, it's about the work.
mm. I love
And
that.
I'm just one of the conduits that can help heal other people. There are other psychics and mediums, but it's unfortunate because there are a lot of people who take advantage of other people who, by the way, I will not DM anybody, because they're, fraud people saying that they're me on Instagram and asking for money and whatever. I will never ask for money. I will never DM you. And I actually do readings on Char Vision, my podcast on Friday nights that people can call into. And I'm also on TikTok.
Mm.
I my younger friends got me on TikTok, and it's fun. Like John Edward and Jonathan Lewis, and like it's I love TikTok.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, well, you have said, right? Like, I feel like this newer generation, they're more intuitive, right? Like they're plugged in a little bit more. I feel
Yeah,
like,
and I also think that they're born with, like, I think I had to work much harder than some of them have to work, because they're born with a natural ability. Like that somehow the brain evolved to a different place. And also I feel that the veil between here and the spirit world is thinner right now. It's
mm,
been thinner, but which means good can come in and it's great, but means evil can come in and it's bad.
mm,
We're being tested right now on the earth with COVID and monkeypox and the war and food shortages. I mean, we're we're being really tested, and it's not going to get better right away. It's we still have big lessons to learn.
sure. What do you think? Like, do your guides ever give you insight? Like, humanity needs to do this to correct this.
Yeah, well, the reason we're supposed to be one, working together as one. Imagine that we took one problem in the world at a time and everybody prayed for it and worked on it to try to fix it. There would be a healing. It would be so positive if we all put our energy towards clean water. I mean,
Hmm.
it I feel bad for the younger generation, but I also have faith in the younger generation that they will do their best to try to fix what's going on, because my generation sure did screw up.
Well, I think we're all screwing up. And I think it's just, you're seeing a lot of that darkness come to light right now, just with everything that's going on, right? Just listening to a lot of spiritual teachers. And I feel like just watching the younger, like even my kids, I have 3 kids, and they're my
Oh,
12-year-old is very, like, he just seems, he's different, like the way he talks, like he's so beyond his years, even though he's 12. He has
right.
this philosophy, like this built-in philosophy. And I feel like there's something big that's going to happen with that generation.
Yeah. Yeah. That I feel that they're the ones who will probably help save the planet, but
Oh,
hopefully it
absolutely.
late, because I mean, thank God you've got, healthy kids.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm blessed, so blessed. And
Mhm.
they're a big reason why I do this work, because I want them to see, I want them to see beyond the status quo, right?
Right.
I want them to be able to learn about things and subjects and ideas of consciousness that society's not teaching them. And I want them to look at me and say, okay, well, I want to be that safety blanket for them, so
Right.
they can go out into the world and pick up a book like yours, like You Are Psychic, and not feel ashamed or embarrassed about it, right? Like there's not a stigma behind that. Like
I
it
love
is.
reading for kids. I read
You
for
should you
kids.
should write a children's book next.
You know, John said the same thing.
I mean,
So interesting that you said that. That is so like intuitive of you to even bring that up. I do love kids. Um, I think kids innately know that a lot of the political people are liars and not honest and not pure.
mhm.
And, I think the kids understand right from wrong better than a lot of the grown-ups.
Well, you were picking up on that, right? The shortage
Hmm.
on the bill. I mean, I believe it. There's no resistance isn't there, right? Like they're not as closed off as we are as adults to
Right,
those types
right.
of.
Well, because society instills our intuition out of us. It tries to bring fear about it. And, the Bible says there will be false prophets. But guess what? The Bible's right in that way, because there are people conning people who are really psychic, just trying to get their money and not to help them. So, it's a catch-22.
Sure. What's one step that someone can take right now to in building and strengthening their intuition?
Well, uh, first of all, you have to know that you have an ability. You can't even doubt it. You just have to own your power. You have to know that you are psychic. You have to know it. I mean, and you have to know that you can use it and that it's a muscle. It's a sixth sense. Those of us fortunate enough to have our eyesight and our hearing and our taste and our touch and our smell, the it's you have to own it as if it is just something else that's built into us. And then once you own it, and once you start acknowledging the energy that goes on with it, you need to embrace it and allow it to happen. Like, and if you have a dream, let's say your grandfather passes away and you have a vivid dream of your grandfather, and he's trying to say, you know what, I think you should go on the, soccer team, or I think you should whatever. I feel like it's important for kids and adults and everyone to embrace that. Like, not, oh, I had a dream about my grandfather. Well, he came to you, and if it was, especially was if it's very vivid, it's
Mhm.
probably a visitation and a message.
Sure. Is there a difference between I guess maybe it's just semantics, but like being psychic and being intuitive?
I think they're both very similar, but I think being intuitive is more like when you're, what I say, psychic at random, when you're in your busiest part of your day and something says, go call your family, go call your mother, your sister, whoever, and because they need you, and then you act on it and they needed you. I think being psychic is more like seeing the future for somebody. It could be at random, like where you're not even trying, but you know that there's going to be an issue with someone.
Mhm.
Or where, with what I do and what I teach people to do, is feel people's energy and tell them the things that they see around them. And there's different steps to getting there.
Mm.
So, they're kind of like it's kind of like both the same, but maybe it's a little bit like singing, singing country music or rock music and gospel music. There's different facets to that kind of music.
Sure. It's funny you talk about future, because I was wondering, like, with premonitions, right? Like, in your experience, is are you seeing the most probabilistic future, or are you just seeing something that could possibly, like, could happen but not likely?
Okay, I feel that some things in life are predestined, but most things we create by the choices we make. And when we make those choices, we're accruing our karma. You're walking behind somebody and they drop a $20 bill.
Mhm.
So do you pick up the $20 bill and you go, wow, I can feed my kids today? Or do you say, hey, lady, you dropped this $20 bill.
Mhm.
What do you do?
Me? Man, that's a tough one, right? Because it depends on where I'm at. Like, are you starving, right? Like, with 3 kids?
I mean, maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but what's the right thing to do?
Right thing to do. My gut is saying give it back, right?
Of course, we give it back because maybe she's starving. Maybe that's her only $20 bill that she's got in her whole life.
Sure.
So it's always important to do the right thing.
Mhm.
We know right from wrong. Kids understand right from wrong better than especially the politicians in our country. I can't even go there.
I can't believe the time is just flown by.
I'm not even looking at my clock.
I know. I don't want to look at my clock either. You are psychic. 7 steps to discover your own psychic abilities. Where can people find out more about you? Where can they buy the book?
Okay, so you can go to char.net, char.net. Char.net is everything about me, about my podcast, Char Vision, by the book. You can get the book at Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble, a lot of the, bookstores will have it. And I'm grateful that you wanted to interview me, and you're a wonderful interviewer. And I'm flattered that you did really read the book and that you really got into it. And it really, really made my night.
Well, it's well written, and it's a wonderful, amazing story. And I have to talk about books like this that are going to help us as human beings, like, come together. You know what I mean? So,
well, we all need to work together to try to help heal our planet, because our planet needs it. But if you ever want to invite me back, because I didn't even read for you today, so if you invite me back, I can read for you next time if you want.
absolutely. Well, Char, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for this interview. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it so much. You have a wonderful energy, and honestly, don't ever doubt your gut. Always act on it. I know that you're very, very intuitive, and I just can tell with people.